So I'm sure my camera isn't perfect, and this is a little bit of a different style than a lot of you are probably used to from this channel. So I know I have a lot of new subscribers. Welcome. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Please stick around. I wanted to do a little bit of a different style today because I think it's important to occasionally put a face to the stuff that I cover. And also, I was just really excited. On top of that, my computer's been updating for like 2 hours and no end's in sight. We've gotten news from D23, Disney's own entertainment expo, that Ewan McGregor is coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So in a week where we've had really, really crappy news as far as Spider-Man and Sony and everything going on there, at least so far, fingers crossed, we're still waiting on that, we finally get something good. Obi-Wan is back. Now, this is a Disney Plus series. There's not a lot of information on it released yet, but there are a few key things that I think are worth touching on. One is that one of the pieces of information released so far is the setting, where and when it is. At the very least, when. 8 years after the end of Revenge of the Sith. So, anybody who's a Star Wars fan has seen Revenge of the Sith, you know what happens. Obi-Wan goes into exile on Tatooine at the end of the movie. And that's about it for his story, at least until 4. But it's also not, because there's definitely a few little things in the comic books already that are canon still, not even in the Legends ones, but the canon, including the Journals of Ben Kenobi, where we actually see some of the events between episodes 3 and 4 already. There's also the whole situation in Star Wars Rebels Season 4. Don't really want to completely go there if you haven't seen it. What does this mean? Well, 8 years after Revenge of the Sith, what's Obi-Wan been up to? We know that in the Journals of Ben Kenobi, obviously it's around 8 years as well. There's this whole storyline with him. He's been looking out after Luke. He prevents Luke from dying, actually, even at least once during this time period. So I'm kind of wondering how this Disney Plus series is going to tie into the established continuity, since there's already a story that takes place around 8-ish years into his exile. But again, I'm not sure. And we don't fully know how many seasons there's going to be. It could be a limited series where it's just 5 episodes, 6 episodes, whatever, and that's it. There's already a lot of the MCU shows that are going that direction of just, it's one season, there's a set amount of episodes, this is the story, and we're done. I really wouldn't be surprised at that. It does seem more like a limited series thing. I can't see 5 seasons of Obi-Wan, straddling around the desert. But there's also a lot of potential here as far as what to work with. Because yes, he's looking after Luke Skywalker, but that doesn't mean that he's just sitting around doing nothing. There is a lot that he's up to during this time period. So even though our details are not, plentiful, this is going to be shooting next year-ish. Obviously these things can always be pushed back, but it's kind of in that 2020-ish range for shooting. So it is really exciting. It's interesting, though, too, because it kind of falls in this weird area in the MCU timeline, too, because, Disney is controlling both of these universes now. It's got Star Wars, the property, and it's got the Marvel properties. And a lot of the Marvel things are shooting in 2020 as well, or starting in late 2019 and shooting in through 2020 and then coming out 2021 or whatever. So it's interesting that there's this kind of gap almost with a lot of this stuff. Now we still have the rise of Skywalker to look forward to or to not look forward to, depending on how you felt about The Last Jedi or the sequel trilogy.
I also need to mention that there's still stuff like The Mandalorian coming out, and that's actually coming out really soon in November, along with Star Wars Resistance. So it's not like Star Wars is just dead or gone or anything. There's plenty of comics, plenty of other books and shows coming out. I just think it's interesting that these mainline characters, a lot of them in both franchises, Marvel and Star Wars, they're kind of getting a back burner right now for a little bit. I think to kind of stew and develop these stories more so that they can be higher quality. And then those characters seem to be coming back after that. But it doesn't mean that either brand is not coming out with anything.
But I think this is definitely news that we can all kind of get behind and really enjoy. I've heard people who stick up for the prequel trilogy just to an incredible amount. I personally love Episode 3. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I'm not a big Episode 1 fan, and Episode 2 is fine. But I think that really everyone, even the people who don't like the prequels, agree that Ewan McGregor does a fantastic job. And he's really, really come into his career as well. He's not just a Star Wars actor. He's not a one-hit wonder. You can even see him in the Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep, that got a trailer released recently. He was just fantastic in Christopher Robin. So Ewan McGregor's kept busy. But it's great to see him finally coming back, and in the D23 Expo stage where he revealed coming back, he seemed excited about it as well. So I think it's really fantastic to see. It actually makes me really happy because this is kind of the Obi-Wan that I remember as a kid. I love Alec Guinness's portrayal, but you know, he's in the original trilogy so little, the Alec Guinness Ben Kenobi, just because it's more a story about Luke Skywalker and his father. And this really gives us a chance to kind of dive into a character study almost on Obi-Wan and see what he's up to during this time. And I will be seeing you in the next video. You're awesome. Stay awesome. Peace.